Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Activities for People Living with Dementia. We're proud to offer this series with funding from the Area Agency on Aging and the United Way of Tarrant County. Some of our programs are recorded and some are made available for viewing through a YouTube channel for future use. I am Martha Brown, your host for today's activities. Today, it is our pleasure to bring back our faithful Peggy Spier, who works with the Amon Carter Museum of American Art. Today, Peggy is going to show us art from their collection with the topic ballet. And I'm excited to see what she's brought us today. Peggy, it's all yours.
Thank you. All right, let's get my screen. Here we go. I actually thought we would have more. Again, I'm always surprised at what we don't have and do have. But we'll start here. This was probably, or I could be totally wrong. This is probably what most people were thinking of when I said we were going to look at, not this guy, not yet. When I said we were going to look at ballet, this probably was the type of image you might have been thinking about. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do we see?
Ballerina.
Framed in a circle framework, I guess.
Can't remember what that motion is that they do. I'm not a dancer, so I don't remember what that.
Well, and she looks like she's like tilted, but I'm sure that her feet are on the ground and she's tilted.
Yeah.
Her body's tilted that way.
Yeah, we can't see what her feet are actually doing, but we still know, like Steve was saying, that the placement of her hands and arms, we know she's a ballerina. The lighting is like what makes it, I feel, speaks to the grace of the ballerina in this particular instance. We don't know, did anyone ever take ballet or modern dance or any sort of dance? Do we have any dancers?
No.
No.
This is as close as I ever came.
What was it, Martha? What was his close?
Jazzercise.
Exercise, yeah. There
You
you
got
go.
some good moves. You got some moves you can break out at a party.
I did lights for the North Dakota Ballet Company for a couple years,
Right. Well,
That's the
you
best I-
looked at ballet.
but I
then.
didn't do any dancing.
How cool is
You
that?
weren't a stand-in, Steve, when someone went
No.
down. Pirouette on in.
No. I didn't
Yeah,
have the grace and balance of that,
Yeah,
No.
I did in college, and it's like comical. I did hip hop dance. I was on the hip hop team.
Go.
So it's not at all graceful like the lines you would see in ballet.
Well, we know that's just a smirch in your history, but we'll ignore that, Peggy, that you did
Please.
hip hop.
Please do. My husband will bring out the DVD that they gave like the dancers at the end of the year. I'm like, oh my God, please, why do we even have this? It's blackmail in a sense. But yeah, so here we see this beautiful dancer. Looking in the notes of this particular photograph we have in our collection, it says Diana Miller ? So I don't know. I couldn't find anything about of that time, a woman, Diana Miller, who was a dancer. So she might be unidentified. This might be her. There was a question mark by her name, but Struce in general, we've looked at a lot of Struce's photographs in the past. Struce was on the East Coast and then moved to the West Coast and was working in LA with in Hollywood, and was a really well-known cinematographer, working with Cecil B. DeMille on a bunch of motion films. So he was routinely around performers. So this could have been someone he had worked with on set somewhere, or just knew from the theatrical group that he ran with in Hollywood.
So he was taking pictures. He wasn't actually choreographing that dancing, right?
No, he was not a choreographer, cinematographer. So he came up with a lot of motion film techniques that were used in Hollywood at the time. So he was well known in that field.
Okay.
But when he lived on the East Coast, he ran with the Photo Secessionists, which was headed up by Alfred Stieglitz, Georgia O'Keeffe's husband. So it all is connected again.
Yep.
But the Photo Secessionists were the group of artists that were trying to make photography high art, not documentation, not journalism. It was, but meant to be as beautiful and story, you know, telling a story the same way a sculpture or a painting will. So we see, you know, the lighting has a very theatrical lighting to it. Again, it could be his theatrical background. It could be part of this pictorialism group he's with, but also that's those soft edges. You can see it particularly in her arms, which, given the subject, don't you feel this kind of plays into the grace and beauty often associated with a dancer?
Yes.
I find it's very elegant, and I like the way that she's leaning and that she's not upright in the circle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and even though, you know, she's coming out from one side and it's not extending through the other side, we're still kept within this framing because her arms are mimicking the shape of the print itself.
So Peggy, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Does this look like it's a natural light with a background that's trees in the background? Is that probably a setting, something behind it?
You know what? He might be outdoors. I couldn't find anything. It doesn't look like they're in studio. That lighting looks very natural compared to what we know studio lighting looked like at that time. Like if you can think of some of those cabinet cards we've seen, the ones that are like almost the size of our cell phone, kind of ridiculous, where they're like ice skating and they're indoors. Like it doesn't have that cheesiness to it. This feels very natural. So my hunch is that he is outside.
Outside and the sun is shining. Could it be the sun that is giving these light streaks on her arms and the hair?
I think you're right, Yetta. And especially you can see what her leotard or her costume, whatever it is that she's wearing, has a sheerness to it too, that natural light is catching from behind. But yeah, I think this is just a very beautiful photograph of a ballerina. So we're now going to go to a dancer we are able to identify. Robert Laffossi. Have any of you heard of this dancer before?
Nice.
Is that is that the guy that was depicted in some
choreographer?
He was a choreographer for those movies and Broadway plays that dealt with like Chicago, or I don't remember what some of them were.
I couldn't find. He might be. I couldn't find anything on his choreography part of his career. I was mostly focusing on when he was dancing. So he could very easily have done, have taught choreography, because he was, from what I can tell, was so well known at remembering choreography. Like you taught it to him and he just retained it. And people were so amazed that he could remember a lot of these elaborate numbers, that he even said, what did he say? He remembers choreography, what he says about himself, the way people learn a language or hold on to memories. It just, you know how some brains are just programmed to second language or third language. That his was learning the dance.
So now that I think about it, this is the name of the guy I'm thinking about is not this guy. He's a different guy.
Okay.
He was a choreographer, purely choreographer.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, and I think that, you know, your body can only dance for so long before it just can't keep up the way it used to. So I don't know. I mean, he could have easily shifted to choreography later in his life, but he was dancing mostly in the 70s and 80s for the American Ballet Theater and then for the New York City Ballet. So two dance troupes that were the best in the country. And so having this particular photographer he would take picture, portraits and things like that. So here's just a very dynamic portrait of this well-known ballerino in costume, and you're able to see, like he's really accentuating the muscles.
Yeah.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's really pretty. I found a video of him on YouTube dancing. I was just curious to see, but it's from the 80s, so it's not what we're used to seeing. So just if you start to feel seasick, we will change it, but this is a performance of his from the Nutcracker in 1984.
Oh, that was Darth Vader there for a second.
Yes, it was.
And so here we're not really seeing him as the star performer, but people would go to see him. He was one of the best ballerinos. Here, I'm trying to see if we can fast forward to maybe something where he's actually doing more than just a supporting role.
Thank you for saying the word ballerino. I have never heard it before, and I've always wondered if there was a word for them, for male ballet dancers.
So anyway, this is when he was with the American Ballet.
Yeah.
So anyway, there we go. So that was a real dancer that we know existed, and we do have a number of photographs in our collection, photographs particularly of dancers doing their dance, a lot of modern dancers, things like that. So, but he was the only ballerino I could find. All right, Ellie Nottleman's Seated Dancer. I love this one. What do you guys think?
I do. I like it too. Yeah, it's very peaceful looking.
Yeah, Yetta doesn't seem to agree with us though, Don.
No, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I like the first one much better. That was more elegant,
Yeah, elegant.
I don't know. There's something about it that I don't really like.
So
maybe the facial expressions. Or...
Yeah, it's pretty abstracted. So the first photograph we saw. We're gonna have to keep going against this guy. That was taken in 1919. Okay, so this was photographed 1919. This is a drawing of the same year, totally different style. Ellie Nottleman was based in New York. He was a immigrant from Warsaw, Poland. Came to the United States and settled in New York, and was just totally in love with this stage land that was becoming New York City and the Americas at the time. And so during this time, there were burlesque shows, there were circus type shows, there were theater performances, ballet performances. And like we've seen in other images in the past, this is when people were starting to go out and be more, be social. We're about to hit the roaring 20s. We're just getting out of a war. So this is like now people are looking for entertainment. So he was really interested in the dancers, the female form. And he was actually a better sculptor than anything else he did. And so he did a lot of drafts on paper. And a lot of those drafts would end up translating into very beautiful sculptures, often wood, some marble. But here, and so it, with this America that's changing, with these new entertainment forms that people were enjoying, the clothing was changing. So this is not, this looks like a little bit more of a modern, not a traditional ballerina.
Mm-hmm.
Leotard, maybe she's wearing a leotard that ties around her waist. It's not that tutu that's sticking far out. The neckline feels a little different than maybe some of the traditional leotards of the time. And she has her hair back in almost like a turban or a wrap of some sort,
Mhm.
which would have been very modern fashion in New York at the time. So it's a traditional subject because we've been seeing, you know, he's from Europe, so he was used to seeing ballets, Toulouse-Lautrec, Degas, artists like that depicting ballerinas. But this is a little different than what what audiences would have typically been seeing.
But this almost could look like she's doing stretching exercises or something like that.
Yeah, she looks like she's sitting on the floor, either watching choreography or stretching or just resting in you know, dances. Her shoe it's not a elaborate drawing, a detailed drawing of what a ballet slipper would look like. We don't know if it's point shoe or just a slipper, you know. Looks like she might be wearing leggings or tights of some sort, but she's not actively dancing.
If it were me, I'd be stretching my neck.
That's right. That's what she's doing.
Getting that, yeah, that long,
Doing
with
Nia.
long lines.
She's doing Nia, yes.
Doing chair exercises, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it feels, it's ink on paper, so there's a quickness to it. If you're using, you know, just be like if you had a pen on hand and you were able to kind of roughly sketch. But the lines contribute to some of that hurriedness of it. You know, you can see kind of the blurring, the details of the feet aren't that important. The face, like Yetta picked up on immediately, it's just hinting at a face. It's not at all articulated. But there are enough details that we know this is a dancer. So anyway, his sculpture is some of my favorites. They're really very beautiful, simple, but elegant lines. And even the shape of like the legs and the arms, that more tubular shape, that was also indicative of a modern shift in art. It's not the articulated muscles like we saw in the photograph of the other two dancers. Granted, those were photographs, but it's more of the hinting at body parts versus the detailed articulation.
Right. Right.
So we'll leave the lone dancer for, again, this is probably one of the more stereotypical thoughts you have when you think of dancers at a bar or ballerina dancers. Do we like this depiction?
It's pretty intimate.
Somebody has a veggie.
Yes, she does.
I love it. Oh, wait.
Yeah. Yeah, she needs to pick her wedgie here.
That's right.
Yeah, so it feels like we're almost sitting on the floor, like we are this dancer looking at the dancers across the way.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
We aren't on bar level with them. We aren't standing in with them. We're almost looking up that perspective. So yeah, we came for the dance and stayed for the show, I guess.
That's right. That's right.
Other
So
than
Peggy,
go ahead, Don.
so baby, it's a Peggy. It says Conte crayon with graphite and graphite on paper. What's a Conte crayon?
It's just a type of crayon, like
Okay.
a
Like a
coloring
Crayola.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's like a brand or something like that?
No, I think it's kind of like it's not like Crayola. It's a type of like a wax crayon or something.
A
like
wax
that.
crayon. Okay, okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I really like the physicality of the second and third poses.
Mm-hmm.
If I were in yoga class doing a down dog and someone said, raise your left leg and do something unusual with it, this would be something I would hope I would look like, but I'm sure I don't. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, I could never get in those poses, but my brain wants to go there if I'm trying to do it myself.
Uh-huh.
So I'm envious that they can do that.
Yeah. I know the flexibility of these. I mean, a standing split. Woo-wee.
Mhm.
Now,
So
Peggy, it says that, oh, sorry, Dawn, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say that I just looked up Conte crayon. It's a crayon made from graphite and colored clay.
Okay. Okay.
So
So
it's very
not a wax
hard. It's
crayon.
very hard.
Now, I know the title says Dan Sus, but to me it looks as if it's the same person. Or is it
Could
just
be.
because they have the same outfit on?
I
That they're
don't
warming
know.
up for the show?
It could be the same person.
Just in
My
three
hunch
different.
is that it's probably the artist in the studio, given the materials, and was sketching multiple dancers
Okay.
in one session. And so it says, you can see their artist has written some words. Let me make sure it says down here, to Karen, affectionately M. Sawyer. And then at the top it says, the first book of ballet by Noel Stratfield. And so I think over here it says that. So I think that this was, I couldn't find it, but this was going to be contributed to be a cover of the book or some sort of illustration.
Stratfield was an artist that wrote the shoe series, you know, about ballet shoes and theater shoes. I think they call it Street Field.
Oh, Street Field. Okay.
It was in the movie with the Little Shop Around the Corner, Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan.
Oh,
What's that, Don?
that's You've Got Mail.
There's another one.
There's another one. Okay.
Oh yeah, the shop. Yes, it was You've Got Mail.
Got Mail. Yeah.
Yes, and she knew Noel's, and she called it Street Field.
Okay.
Field wrote a series of books about shoes.
Oh, well then maybe.
So there's a thing about ballet shoes, dancing shoes, running shoes. It's a shoe series.
Oh, how interesting. Okay. I did not come across that. This is very good information. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so I don't know who Karen is. But anyway, this artist was.
How old do we think these ladies are?
15.
See, I think they're younger, aren't they?
Oh, I think they're a little bit older myself.
I don't know.
I don't know what the lifespan of ballerinas are. You know, the older they get, if they have the right body type, the older they get, they just.
Yeah.
These look.
Yeah, I didn't see anything that identified these models, so I don't know. I don't know who these people were, how old they were, if he was in like a class of some sort and got to sit in.
Well, the older ballerinas are, the more physical problems they have.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Because basically ballerinas are in the same category as football players as far as for injuries, because they have so much stress on their legs, their ankles, their knees. And football players go through some of the same issues. And so they're sometimes in physical therapy together, I understand.
Huh. Yeah, we can't tell just from this. It doesn't look like we have any injuries that are visible here.
No, there's not any here, but I was just commenting about being older or whatever.
Right. So, but I'm saying that they might not be older because they don't have any wrapped ankles or knees, or because this was in the 50s, so there would be sports medicine enough to give them support if they needed it. But this artist was a social realist, so he was drawing. I mean, if he's talking about shoes, that's something people are living with and knowing, and so he was very. Oh no, that would have been Stratfield. But this particular artist was just observing the world around him and making art based on that. And so he was very popular during his lifetime. And then it wasn't until after the Depression that he started turning towards dancers. It just was something that inspired him. It was reminiscent of Degas. And so he moved to New York City from Russia. So both, I'm sure, bye, Steve. So I'm both
Bye.
in Russia and
Later. Bye.
and in the US, he was probably exposed to the ballet theater, things like that. But here we see a different progression, whether it is the same person or not, we don't know, but we see a different progression of movement and flexibility and just grace.
Especially grace.
So those, I think, is that it? Oh no, I have one more.
Cigar Box cover.
Not much to say about this one, but yeah, another cigar box where we've got 3 ballerinas holding on to their Havana cigars so gracefully, and just like, you know, it's funny. I think the pairing of ballerinas with cigars, it just creates this air of sophistication, and that was probably a very deliberate choice to have ballerina dancers versus a burlesque dancer or something like that holding their product. And we just saw a cigar cover a couple weeks ago, so
We did.
why not tack these ballerinas on?
And
So you can get this print. This was like a poster. Like if you were to Google Honey Girls Havana, you can find cell phone covers of this image. Like this is a very popular image, apparently. So
and with red, white, and blue as well.
That's right.
Funny.
Very patriotic. Yeah.
Interesting.
yeah, which would be the Cuban flag as well as flag. So
I bet. And they spell Havana with a B there, which is how they pronounce it.
yep.
My. I just sent you some info on email about Street Field.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, I don't get email notifications when my screen's pulled up. All right, guys. Well, that is it. Next week, we are looking at animals.
For
So I
3
have
times.
a sneaking suspicion our friend Elliot Porter will be back.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, good.
Or betting man. But yeah, so next week we'll look at some pictures we have or artworks we have that focus on animals.
Okay.
And next week is when you do all 3 programs.
Yep.
So if you like it, you can see it 3 times.
For one,
thank
you know, whatever.
Yeah.
All right, guys. It was good seeing you. I'll see y'all next week.
Okay.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you,
Have a
Peggy.
wonderful day.
Bye, Peggy. Bye.
Yay. Okay. Well, don't go anywhere because we have 5th Street Cafe coming up. Let me
Hey,
see.
Martha, what's tomorrow?
Let's do that first. I'm going to
Thank you.
share my screen. Yes. For today, 11:30 is Storywise with Heather. And 1:30, I'm doing a little Jeopardy this afternoon.
Okay.
We're doing a little Jeopardy. And then tomorrow, cookie.
Cookie conversation.
Hey.
Yay. Yeah, well, we all know, Mike and Marge don't know yet, but if you show up for Cookie Conversations, you get a box of cookies in the mail.
That's right.
Oh,
That's
well,
why-
I know
yeah,
Mike will be
Bill.
there for sure.
And Gail is doing that at 10:30 and 11:30. And then at 1:30, I'm going to do a little flashback. So there you go. And I keep adding pictures to flashback. So once we get through all of them, and we start from the beginning, you will see some that you haven't seen before, and that's kind of fun.